Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Action Network. I am Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer of the Action Network. Today is our Week 3 Thursday NFL episode. This is the episode where we're going to get feedback from the wise guys who listen to the show. We're going to narrow down our bets to 5 we are leaning towards in our new totally free Favorites podcast, $100,000 pro football pick'em contest. Plus, we will talk Survivor, money line, underdog, round robin, parlay, big balls, bet of the week, and our foxhole. That's right. You can still join the contest, make your picks, get your chance at all our fabulous weekly and season-long cash prizes in the big NFL pick'em contest. As our old pal, Colin Cowherd, says, there's a sea of money out there. Just visit favorites.actionnetwork.com. That's also where you can see our 5 official picks when we lock them in before kickoff on Sunday. The contest drops your 2 lowest scores once we get past Thanksgiving. So if you haven't signed up yet, don't worry, you're still good to go. Favorites.actionnetwork.com. If you prefer using the award-winning Action Network app, you can also track all the bets Simon and I lock in before kickoff Sunday by following 2 accounts. Those are the Faves 5 and the Favorites podcast. Now, let's bring in my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF, professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Chad, how we doing, my guy?
Dude, we are freaking great. The Chicago Bears, which we're going to get into, are falling apart in the span of an hour. It's amazing what's happening in Chicago. I feel really enthusiastic about this weekend slate. Had a great couple days in New York. How are you feeling? How's things in AC? You loving life?
It's good. No, I'm looking forward to getting out of here. This is my last day here. Making some bets tonight. I'll stay for the Thursday game, and I'm heading back towards Philly area. It's been fun down here, but
Recording
it's definitely
stopped.
It's definitely wild being back in the sportsbook world. So, yeah, it's nice being back in New Jersey and just at the sportsbooks again, Chad.
Recording in progress.
As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. They believe that every sport should be epic, every touchdown, every game, every point, every play. From the moments that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar. See for yourself when you sign up today with code ACTION, and you'll get $365 in bonus bets when you bet just $1. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's at Bet365. You must be 21 or older. You also must be present in Colorado, Iowa, New Jersey, Ohio, or Virginia. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms and conditions apply. Week 3 is approaching, Simon. We're seeing opportunities all over the board. Let's not dilly-dally. It's time for Sharp Calls.
I wish I could give another Thursday game. I wish the pros were with us on this Giants game, Chad, but I just haven't heard too many, really sharp groups coming in heavy on this. They've touched the 10.5 on this Giants team, but it's way more split than people would believe. A lot of pros do like this 49ers team. They like them here on the short week. So, yeah, last week, Thursday, was definitely the pros versus the Joes. The pros all over that Vikings 7, 6.5, 6. So, not the same for this Thursday, but for the Sunday slate, not too shocking the games. I'll start with the one that shocked me the most, which is a game I thought me and you would just stay away from. They love the Browns, Chad. Like, every pro I've talked to loves the Browns against this Tennessee team in this spot. So that's a game we're definitely going to have to go through. I'm shocked by it. Like, I get where they're coming from, this Browns team, and a letdown spot for Tennessee, but I don't know. The 3.5 is just scaring me. So definitely a game we need to talk about, as that could be one of the, could be one of the favorites we take. Another favorite they love this week is Vegas. We've seen this number move from +1.5. It's now 2.5 at a lot of books. Not that shocking. Another line the pros love this week, the Saints. I know a really smart group that came in heavy on the Saints, and they came in heavy on Washington. So these are 2 teams that they clearly believe in. And the last one is a game we already talked about, which we'll talk again, is the Bucs. Like, the pros, like the Bucs against this banged up Eagles secondary. Say what you want about this Bucs team. We all know they're not as good as their record states, right? They played against a Vikings team that was due for regression, and they played against a Bears team that they haven't won a game in like a year. So not that shocking that the Bucs are 2-0 and that the Eagles are clearly a better team on paper. But I think everyone's in agreement. All the pros are in agreement. The Eagles got a lot of injuries, and those injuries in the secondary are a big deal against that Bucs team. So not too shocking hearing that they love the Dogs this week, but they like two favorites as well. Like the Vegas one, I'm shocked they still like it at 2.5, and that Browns -3.5. The pros are on it. So it really, I did think that the pros would be on Tennessee with the public, but it looks like that's just a public dog this week, taking the Tennessee team at +3.5.
All right, we're gonna dig deeper on that game. I think you and I, we talked about this. We do the favorites film room for YouTube only. We went deep on that game when we did that yesterday. If you have not watched it, it's really cool. Simon and I break down plays from the previous week that impacted bets that we were on, but also help us make decisions about bets going forward. We looked at Sam Howell and the Commanders. The wise guys love the Commanders this week against the Bills. And we looked at the Tennessee Titans O-line, which will be having a very hard time against Myles Garrett and the Browns. Great stats on how dominant the Browns defense has been. I want to get much deeper into that game because it is I think it's the most interesting game on the board. And we talked a lot about it on Tuesday. Look, kudos to you, by the way. I stupidly did not bet the Raiders at +1.5. I have now bet them at 2.5. Stuckey and Raybon also talked about the Raiders on the Action Network podcast and how bad this Pittsburgh team is. We'll dig a little bit deeper into that one. But on Sunday, you said bet the Raiders at +1.5. So, oh man, we got so many games to talk about. The wise guys are in line with us in a lot of these conversations. As a reminder, you can catch every episode of The Favorites live on YouTube. So for those enjoying on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. Simon, we got to start narrowing down our games. We got to get to our foxhole. We got to get to Survivor. Big balls bet of the week. We're going to start with the Bears at +12.5. You mentioned this on Tuesday. Yesterday afternoon, this team basically started falling apart. The story heading into the afternoon was Justin Fields saying he's robotic because of his coaches. Then the defensive coordinator resigns, who already wasn't calling plays last week, resigns for health reasons. The rapid fire texts and alerts I got yesterday while I was in a very important businessman meeting. I split my time between star talent and extremely capable media executive. And in the middle of this very important meeting where I'm talking high stakes, I've got my son texting me about the breaking news on the defensive coordinator. Then my friends are losing it about the defensive coordinator, texting me nonstop. And then I get news that Nathan Peterman was released. And my feeling on this is like, that's a smokescreen because the defense, the Bears are such an incompetent organization right now. They're like, if we make a roster move and release Nathan Peterman, people won't realize that our quarterback is calling out our coaches and that our defensive coordinator is resigning. Nathan Peterman was picked back up today, by the way. Dude, what the fuck with this team, man? I know how I feel about emotionally. I said on Tuesday, the Bears don't get enough credit for being a really historically poorly run, incompetent organization. And it pains me to say that. I know so many people in that organization who are amazing. And I feel like the organization itself is handcuffed because of ownership. That's it. I just think the McCaskey-Hallis reign has been disastrous since about 1960.
Yeah, football always starts at the top down, right? I feel like you go through any organization, it's like you have to have all three. You have to have an owner that knows their place and knows how to hire the right people and put them in positions. Then you have the GM, then the coach, then the quarterback. And it feels like you guys have been lacking like the most important things, which is the quarterback, the coach, and the GM. And it's been for years now. I mean, I know that all those stories yesterday was a lot of just BS, right? All the rumors flying, everything turned out to be not true. But stuff that was true was you had a quarterback that has the worst winning percentage in football ever in Fields as a starter, bad mouthing his coaches. And, you know, That's exactly what you don't want to hear from a guy who was missing open reads. Okay. That wasn't his coach's fault. That was him. And that's just it's something you just don't want to do because that just shows weak, like you're a weak person. Like you're weak mentally if you're trying to push the blame on other people instead of just owning up, which is what I think all Bears fans want to hear was him take onus on himself and say that he has stuff to improve. That's how simple it would have been instead of throwing his coaches under the bus. So I wanted to be on the Bears, Chad. I still might throw a little on them, but I I mean, how can you fault anybody for taking the Chiefs here? Like the Bears seem like an absolute train wreck, and it's rare a team can have this much drama during the week and prepare for the defending Super Bowl champions. So it is a nightmare scenario for Bears fans staring 0-3 in the face, and not that it's a guarantee they're going to be an 0-3, but it feels like they signed it this week, just being unfocused, dealing with all this with the media. I mean, how many other teams are dealing with all this in the media this week? It feels like none. It feels like it's just the Bears. So, yeah, I feel bad for you, Chad, and all Bears fans. It's just been a train wreck this past season.
So much optimism. You know what's interesting, Simon? You make such a good point about Justin Fields' response to the poor start. This was a leadership opportunity. This was a chance for him to step up and say, I own this. I'm going to be better. This team is going to be better. I'm going to put them on my back. And he immediately looked for excuses and got defensive. This is like the argument I have with my 16-year-old when I call him out on something. And like he immediately gets defensive and tries to deflect the blame. And I'm just like, dude, do you know how much easier your life is and how much more respect you get from people if you just admit the mistake and you move on? No one's going to hold you over your head. They're just going to say like, all right, he gets it. I understand. Let's move on to the next thing. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but let's focus on what's going wrong and all work together to make it better. And I don't feel like that's happening in the Bears locker room right now. Here's a stat. You just mentioned Justin Fields' lowest career win percentage. This is from JPA football, at JAS football on Twitter, but JPA football on Twitter as well. This will be the first time in 53 years where the QB with the highest career win percentage, and Patrick Mahomes, plays the QB with the lowest career win percentage. He also put a nice little reminder. The Bears opted to not draft Patrick Mahomes in 2017 to trade up, as I used to remind people before Mitch Trubisky was traded, to trade up for Mitch Trubisky. So there we go. We got that. That's the Bears talk right now.
And even then, though, even if they had drafted him, can you imagine him with your guys, Matt Nagy, and the coaching tree you had in Chicago and your offensive weapons? It was like, imagine going from Kelsey and Tyreek Hill to start your career to what the Bears had. I don't know if it would have mattered if they would have drafted him. It's just all negative right now for the Bears.
One last stat, and then we're moving on to the Texans and the Jags, which is a game that we both love. When opponents score more than 20 points versus a Justin Fields Bears team, they are 18-0 straight up. All 5 Justin Fields wins have come with opponents scoring 20 points or less. Bears are fucked. All right. This line, the Texans and the Jags, we circled this game the other day. We talked about it when it was 8.5. The line has moved to 7.5. Full disclosure, I missed the 8.5. I still bet it at 7.5 because I know 8 is becoming a key number, but I just decided I like the Texans at anything more than a touchdown in this game. Some good trends that I stole from Chris Raybon in the Action Network podcast, the 6-pack segment he does with Stuckey. How are you feeling about the Texans? You said the other day, CJ Stroud has been really good.
Yeah.
And I looked at his stats after because I was skeptical. And you're right. No interceptions, completing 64% of his passes, a lot of yardage, garbage yardage, but still doing the job that's in front of him.
Yeah, it's just, again, I wasn't saying this guy is like all world. It's just one of those where it's nice to see he can make the throws. I mean, you're a Bears fan. Justin Fields' whole life is in garbage time. He's never hit a higher number than CJ's throw. So it is one of those where you got to make the throws just because you're getting a shell defense. And this number actually touched 10 at a couple of books, Chad. And the pro money did come in and hit it down. I'm still seeing 9 at a couple of books. It's good value there. I mean, everyone's seen the stat. In his career, Trevor Lawrence, as a favorite, is 0-4. So, I mean, what do we got to do? ATS, this guy doesn't cover as a favorite. It's a big number. And I know everyone's keeps saying like this is a good bounce back spot for the Jaguars. There's little things that with this offense that I have questions. And even if they do get a lead, I think we'll always have a chance at a back door here, Chad, with this Texans offense. So I'm not going crazy on this one yet. I'm waiting to see what's happening with their offensive line. Like they've had major guys missing from that offensive line, which
Tunsil is supposed to play.
And that's a big deal to me. Like if he's back and they have someone to stop Josh Allen coming off that edge, or any of these pass rushers that the Jaguars have, that's a big deal. So as a QB that has been running for his life, I'm excited to see what CJ looks like with a good offensive line and his best offensive lineman out there. So like Chad said, if you can still get the 9, if you can still grab the 8.5, I just grab it now because I do see it dropping down as we get closer to game time, as we know who's going to be playing for this Houston team. So yeah, it's a big dog. It's a big spot for this rookie on the road, but we're playing the number here, and this is a good number. Like I could not believe it got to 10 at one point. Now it makes sense. It's going down towards 8, 7.5. Like that's where it should be.
By the way, I misspoke. I apologize. I was thinking about the Colts and the Ravens. I got the Texans at plus 9.5 the other day. It's still settling around 9, 8.5. But this is a big pros Joe's game, and you can see like a clear discrepancy. Tickets on the Jags, money on the Texans. Simon, this also, we've talked about this, like we're making our contest picks, our 5 faves on Sunday at about 11:45 after we do another Bet365 show, Convince Me, on Sunday mornings at 11. And that might be too late because we could lock in some games that we love right now at better numbers when we're seeing on Sunday with these lines changing. We got to start thinking about some game theory here.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
I don't hate that at all. All right. Another game. But right now, what would you say? I would say like are a team that I would be comfortable putting in the 5.
You're talking about Houston?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see what the offensive line is. Like I'm not putting them in if they still have 2 starters out on that offensive line. Like it's too much to ask of a rookie quarterback with no offensive lineman.
All right. The Pats, they touched 3. Now it's down to 2.5, which is interesting to me. I got it at 2.5. We talked about it. We love Bill Belichick in this spot.
Yeah.
Why did it go to 2.5? Who's playing the Jets?
The pros. It's a home divisional dog with a great defense. But me and you don't care. We will walk into this trap. We will trust the numbers that Belichick against these quarterbacks who are terrible. These are the games he wins. Like this Patriot defense. And if you're scared of this and you just want to take the under, I totally get it. The under is insanely low. It's like 37.5. Like that's a tough play where I think it's just safer going with this Patriots team that I trust them to put the points up. Like I see ways for Mac to drive the field and get points for me. And with Zach Wilson and how horrible that that Jets offensive line is, I just don't see it. I mean, you can look at the numbers right now through 2 games. Them and Pittsburgh are giving up the most pressure right now. And they're 2 teams that anytime they're playing against really good defensive lines, Chad, me and you are always going to kind of be skewed to the other team. So it's a nice matchup for this Patriots team. It's a must-win, desperate team. They know they're staring 0-3 in the face. So we could be walking to the trap, Chad. Like we always say that when they move it from 3 to 2.5 and they're letting you take the favorite, it's always a little scary. But I'll walk into, I'll take this, and I'll back Belichick in this spot. So another team that we like the favorite, and the pros do like the dog.
So look, it could very well we got screwed with this on the Browns in the exact same situation with almost the exact same number, right?
Yeah.
Better defense, crazy, quirky things happen in the NFL. It is a tremendous risk. And maybe like I feel like the Patriots have gotten unlucky in a couple games. And we've talked about this, like in the luck rankings, they are the most unlucky team after 2 weeks. And the gap here is so we're playing the percentages from a luck rankings point of view. And I trust that as much as anything. Like that has become sort of, for me, a huge factor when thinking about these games, the percentage of coverage for a luck for a team that has been unlucky in this position is north of 60%. So I'm not uncomfortable with this at all. I've marked it down, Pats minus 2.5, as a near mortal lock for the contest.
Yeah, I think people are just off of the Belichick thing. I mean, I had two pros with me yesterday, and they were just bad mouthing him. I made them come inside and I made them watch that Rams Patriots Super Bowl. And it's just like, this is why Belichick's one of the greatest coaches ever. He totally took away everything McVay wanted to do on that offense. And I think people just forget that because he did have Brady, who was incredible, but this man defensively is so smart. And then you go back and watch this year, now that he has the players, look what he did against the Eagles in week 1. And then last week against Miami. That was really, if you go back and watch the film, it was really brilliant how he used his pieces to take away Tyreek Hill and said, we'll let you guys beat us running the ball, but you're not going to beat us with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, which that's everything you wanted to see out of the Patriots defense. Like, he put his team in the best position to win. They just didn't come through on offense. We think this week, finally, Mac Jones will get over that hump and get that first win this week.
Christian Gonzalez was so freaking good.
Yeah.
In that game against the Dolphins. He did not look like a guy playing his second NFL game. Just didn't. Denver, the Broncos, touched 7 for a minute last week. This was our exec decision. By the way, we still owe people a foxhole. We still owe them a big balls. I don't know if
do you want to do Patriots as our foxhole?
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, because I feels like it's just going to be us in the public on this one. Like, no pros are jumping in this foxhole with us.
All right, we're going in the foxhole. By the way, I'd love to have Bill Belichick in my foxhole.
Me too.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Did you see this meme going around, Chad? It was like women asking their boyfriends or their husbands how often they think of ancient Rome.
Yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah.
It made me think of, like, if someone came around, like, how often do you think of Bill Belichick? It'd probably be like once or twice a week. The man's always on my mind.
He is always on my mind because I feel like he's still some kind of Svengali.
Yeah.
Even if, like, the team isn't performing well and isn't making the playoffs. And I think what he did last year with Joe Judge and Matt Patricia was actually borderline, like, abusive for Mac Jones. I still think he's so good strategically because I think it's all he thinks about.
Me too.
All right, so we're in the foxhole with Bill Belichick. Don't mind that at all. We still owe it big balls. It's very possible this next game is the big balls because Denver plus 6.5, which was also our exec decision. I still love it. It's like becoming one of my favorite plays of the week.
I love it, but I'm definitely scared where, like, I don't know, talk to 20 pros and maybe 3 of them for their group are putting big money on this Denver side with us. And a lot of guys are staying away.
Those 3 pros are the most influential of the 20 you spoke to, right?
I wish that was so. But no, they're definitely not in the pecking order. But they are really sharp guys, and I think they're coming from the same standpoint of me, which is I think Russ is way better than people are giving him credit for this start to the season. And, you know, Sean Payton, one of the best coaches, one of the guys I really respect. It really hasn't been his fault. It's been the defense that's really let them down in this Denver team. And they have the playbook now. They saw what the Patriots did. And we're going to see really fast if other teams start implementing the same type of defensive style against this Miami offense, which is we will let you dink and dunk all the way downfield to it, but we're not letting you get downfield Waddle or Tyreek Hill. So, yeah, Chad, I love this number for a bunch of different reasons, but the biggest is we're just playing the market and we're buying a team at their lowest point. An 0-2 team that's 0-2 against the spread, playing against a Miami team that's 2-0 straight up and 2-0 against the spread, and are just loved by everyone. Like we already talked about it, and I talked to a bookmaker yesterday. This is one of the most money-lined, teased bet games of the week, this Miami team. So always nice being a big need with the books on this Denver team. So I got no issue making this one of our 5 if it's still plus 6.5 come Sunday.
It's my exec decision. And don't forget, the Simon Says was the Bucks at plus 5.5. Now that's at 4.5. We'll get to that one. I don't think it needs to be our big balls. I think there might be some other ones as I think about our lineup here. So we will get to the big balls game of the week. All right. Cards plus 12.5. We talked about it a little bit on Tuesday. Double-digit underdogs from Evan Abrams. I asked Evan this the other day. double-digit underdogs the past 20 years at home, 72-51 against the spread. But Evan teased me, and Evan's going to come on later in the show. He also pointed out Dak does very well against bad teams, 26-12-2 against the spread versus teams under 500. So that's the second best mark in the past 20 years behind Tom Brady. He's not one of those guys who plays to the level of the competition.
No. And that's what I've had a bunch of arguments about this game this week. A lot of guys who've been riding this Cardinals team they're skipping this one, and they just think the Dallas is a juggernaut right now, and it's a few teams playing at a higher level. And I always argue this is kind of the spots they let down, but it was pointed out to me it's not. That's at home against double-digit dogs. Usually on the road like this, they crush these teams. Like there's no distractions, none of that. And where you can attack this Dallas team is if you get the running game going, you can move the ball in them. Like they don't have the greatest run stuffers, but the rest of the team has no weakness. Like you look at their defense and there are no real holes, and it's going to be a while before we really learn what their weaknesses are because they don't play. I think the 49ers, they play week 5 or week 6. That's their true litmus test for this Cowboys team. So one of the games I was high on, I wanted to take the Cardinals here, but just from the lack of value on the line, because I had this at 13. So technically I should be on this Cowboys team. I just can't get there. Like I really can't get there on this number with them. But if anyone out there wants to tease them or do any of that stuff, I agree with it. Like get it under 7. This feels like a good number. So if we're going who I think is going to be upset, like could get upset this week. We already talked about the Jaguars. I could see being upset. We'll talk about that Ravens.
We're going to talk about another one.
Yeah, this is one of these big dogs that I just can't see pulling the upset. Like there isn't a scenario where I see the Cardinals doing it. So just because of the Dallas defense, nothing because of Dallas's offense, but defensively, I just don't know if the Cardinals have the weapons to really attack the weaknesses of this Dallas team.
You know what I love, Simon? I love when you and I are in a bit of a mind meld and we haven't spoken about the games that we're going to talk about, but we are finding consensus amongst the two of us. Like it's, an unspoken force. I feel like we're in that kind of zone today.
It's as if I see you 5 days a week.
It's true. I also feel like we're in a zone when we talk about the fastest growing ticketing app in the United States. That's right. It's our sponsor, Game Time. I love Game Time for 2 reasons. 1, they sponsor this show. 2, I actually use Game Time to buy tickets. They've got amazing last-minute deals on all sorts of tickets, including pro and college games. I'm actually going to open Game Time right now from the Action Network studios here in New York City. What am I seeing? Oh, I could go see the New York Yankees tonight for $6. I could see the New York Jets this weekend play the New England Patriots and bet on them at -2.5 for $80. That is some winning ticket searching. No matter where you live, download the Game Time app, get out and have some fun this week. Go sweat your bets live and in person. And you can redeem code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, just download the app and enter code favorites for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Simon, I screwed up. I screwed up big time. On Sunday night, we were talking about the games in our Sunday night podcast, which I love. And it's a hard podcast to do because we are both exhausted and we've been through the ringer at that point. But it's great to get our emotions out and start thinking about the next games, right? And we pinpointed a lot of games. One of the games we pinpointed was the Raiders as 1.5-point dogs against the Steelers at home. You're like, grab that right now. Of course, like my notes are a freaking mess after that show. And so like I go through and I grab some games and somehow I missed this one and sort of forgot about it. Woke up this morning. I'm like, shit, this game's at 2.5. And then I panic bet it. I'm like, I just wanted to get it before it got to 3, and it's going to get there. The tickets are on the Steelers. The pros are on the Raiders. How badly should I feel that I didn't get the Raiders until 2.5?
Yeah, it was a bad miss, but it happens all the time. I'm exactly there with you, where Sunday night, your mind's a little loopy and I'm lucky where I'm making these bets during the games before we even hop on. And then we do hop on, I'm texting guys that are going to make more bets for me. So, yeah, love that we got the value on that number. But you always catch yourselves in certain spots where I can come back on the other side. Like that Tennessee, I got the 4.5. And then when it moved to 3 against Cleveland, I grabbed the 3. And it's like, I got an ugly middle, but I really want the Cleveland to win and cover. Like that's where most of my money is, even though I did a small bet on Tennessee. So, yeah, I always try to tell people don't get married too much to what we're saying on Sunday. Like we're just taking early action and trying to get the best of the number on certain games. And it's not always going to be like this week where we got the Rams, we beat the number by 3 points, and now this Raiders game we're beating this by 3 points. Like that's the dream scenario. So, yeah, this Raiders game, it's just all there for a Raiders bounce back spot. You're playing against a team we already talked about in Pittsburgh, that their offense is literally one of the most efficient offenses in all of football right now. It's them and the Jets. They're 1-2. And with Pittsburgh, you can say, well, they've played really hard defenses, right? That could be your reasoning for wow, it's been. They started the season with Cleveland. The 49ers, and they played Cleveland. And now they're playing this Raiders team that you expect them to have better stats against, right? They'll be able to run the ball, make some good passes here with Kenny Pickett. But when you look up front, Max Crosby, these are kind of the dream scenarios for him. Like this is, if you want a great pass rusher and you want him to go against Pittsburgh, this is the dream scenario. So I hate that it's getting to 3 for people. If you didn't get to 2.5, I would grab it now. It's gone up so much, but yeah, like I know people are shocked how many favorites we like this week, but that's just how it is when we're riding the ups and downs week to week. This is another home favorite I like under a field goal. That's a good team. Like they are bad. They do have some glaring weaknesses because they've had horrible drafts for about 6 years on that Raiders team. But the superstars they have, the studs they have, this is a great matchup for them. I mean, Josh Jacobs, this should be a 150-yard rushing game for him. Jimmy Garoppolo, horrible against that Bills team, just absolutely horrible. It's because he had no run game. And like that's what the Bills knew to take away. If you take away the run game, Jimmy G, all of it on his shoulders, he struggles. Pittsburgh doesn't have anyone that the Bills have to stop the run. So, yeah, this one, Chad, is I'm actually honestly shocked to hear that Stuckey and Chris are on this one because they don't like taking favorites either. But all the pros like this. Like this is just a pros versus Joe's game. We spotted right away. Would still take it at 2.5. If it's 3.5 come Sunday though for our contest, maybe we don't take this. But at 2.5, I got to put it in.
The run defense is terrible. We saw it against the Browns in that Monday night game. No Cam Hayward, I think, is impacting them tremendously. Huge, right? Because Nick Chubb, obviously, like before the injury, 64 yards on 10 carries. He might have had 100 yards and a touchdown in the first half, if not for the injury. But then his backup ended up, while it wasn't like consistent yardage, he had a massive play and he had over 100 yards. And so their run defense is truly, truly terrible. Here was a stat I stole from Raybon. One team in the NFL this year has fewer red zone trips than the Chicago Bears, who have 3. It's Pittsburgh with 2.
Yeah, they're bad.
That's pathetic. That is pathetic. Pittsburgh has 34 rush yards before contact on offense in the NFL. This is from Evan. It's the fewest in the NFL. That's 1 single yard before contact for Pittsburgh. 16th in the NFL. Right now, that average is 2.3 yards per contact, before contact. So they're terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah, and their first round running back looks like a total bust now 3 years later. So just not, Canada, everyone's putting the blame on him in that offense. He is a terrible OC, but just all around, it's just bad right now in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they got bailed out by Deshaun Watson. They really did last week. All right, last week we talked about the Bucks plus 5.5. It was your Simon Says. It's down to 4.5. You mentioned it in sharp calls. Do you still like it at 4.5? Is it a contest play at 4.5?
Yeah, still like it. Still like it at 4.5. It's definitely though one of the games where it could go wrong for us pretty quick, Chad. If Baker turns back into a pumpkin, that's the fear with taking this Bucks number here. But there's no reason to believe he will. Like, even when I go back and watch the film, he's making the smart reads. He's going through all the different reads, and it's like, okay, Godwin's covered. Let me take the next guy. Oh, Mike Evans is covered. Let me look at my check down. Like, he's playing like the hope for the Browns Watson would play, right? That's why they got rid of him. They brought on Watson to have what Baker's doing now, which is a guy who's making the easy reads, not forcing it. And, Eagles team, they're incredibly talented all across the board, and they should be able to beat this Bucs team. There's no doubt about it. But I still have a lot of questions about the OC and the defensive coordinator. Like, there's just something not right with this Eagles team through 2 games. And this would be one of the few times I would say I could see them losing this game outright. Like, if this was in a couple of weeks, there's no way I could see the Eagles losing this game outright. There's just little things to believe that something's missing right now with this Eagles team. And we see all the time early in the season, these teams, they just don't come out of the gate like they were last year. And that's how it feels with this Eagles team. So, yeah, definitely gonna have the Bucs around money line around Robin, and still like him at 4.5, Chad.
Look, Simon, the Super Bowl hangover is real. Like, it's not something that doesn't have any precedent, right? You see it every year. We just saw it. The most recent example was the Rams, who completely fell off the ledge after going to
Yeah.
the Super Bowl. And by the way, when they went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff the next year, they weren't nearly as good. It happens, and you can see it with Jalen Hurts. I hate to say this, but there were things that Deshaun Watson was doing when he was running on Monday night that looked similar to what Jalen Hurts had done the week before, or earlier in the week on Thursday, where like he was getting around edge, he was hesitant, he was easily tackled at the ankles, he wasn't making accurate throws, he wasn't decisive when he dropped back. Like, to me, that is him not yet feeling comfortable with the offensive play calling or being in a groove with the new offensive coordinator. So I get it. And look, with the Bucs, we've talked about this. Is Baker a serviceable to good quarterback if he has Chris Godwin and Mike Evans? Like, that's a big difference, which he's never had. He didn't have it with the Rams, didn't have it with the Panthers, barely had it with the Browns. Like, when he had it with the Browns, he had Amari Cooper. He was not bad.
I don't know if Amari Cooper was there yet. I think he came in the year after.
No, you're
But
right.
I do agree with your sentiment of it. He's never had these kind of weapons. And I was one of those people. I buried Baker. Like, I left him for dead. I thought Trask was going to win this position, but yeah, Baker is a resilient dude. Like, you can't deny that. So, yeah, I love this spot for this Bucs team.
All right. So 2 games that I want to talk about before we get to the Titans and the Browns. Give me your thoughts on Minnesota. I was a big Minnesota fan on Tuesday. It's still lingering around Minnesota as a very short favorite. It's a little scary to me because it feels like a trap, and maybe it is. But right now, that line, hold on, I'm trying to see here. It's moved up to 1.5, but it is a pros Joe's game. 56% of the tickets on the Chargers, 63% of the money on Minnesota.
Again, I just don't know how anyone can model this game. Like, I don't know where you're going to find value in this game. Whoever has the ball last is probably going to win, and no one knows what either team is going to do in this game. Like, it's all the stats you see about Herbert. He's doing things that have never happened before. He's been almost perfect, and his team is 0-3 in his last 3 starts. Like, the man can't play much better, and his team just can't win because their coach is so bad. And it's the weirdest part is he's a defensive mind, and when he first got there, their defense was actually pretty good, and they just have gotten worse every game he's coached them. Like, I don't know what's happened, with the Chargers defense, but it's completely fallen off. So I just can't get there with you on Minnesota, Chad. It's just, if I had to see the future and say what team to be 0-3 is more likely, it's Minnesota. The Chargers have a better team all around compared to Minnesota. They have guys on defense who can get stops. On the Chargers, I don't know anyone on the Vikings defense that can make a stop or make a big play. Like, I'm not seeing it with that Vikings defense. So, yeah, I think this is one of the highest totals of the week, 54. I threw a lid on the over, and that was really it for me on this game, Chad. It's just I see there being a lot of points, and I just have no read on either of these teams and no faith in either of these teams to win a game. It's just both teams have so many question marks for me right now. It's crazy to think though one of these guys are going to be 0-3. So I totally get where you're coming from the Vikings. I just can't get there.
All right. Very quickly. Falcons are 3.5 at the Lions. I'm kind of waiting at this point. Like we talked about this on Sunday night. I love the Falcons at 5.5, but you kind of talked me out of it in that moment. We agreed on Tuesday that we probably should have bet it at 5.5. It's now at 3.5. I'm kind of just hoping it gets to 3, and I'm probably going to take the Lions.
Yeah, no, nothing on this game. Too many injuries for the Lions, and I don't have blind faith taking Ritter on the road in this spot. So I'm right there with you. If it gets down to 3, 2.5 on the Lions, that's all I end up on before kickoff.
All right. Can we talk about this Browns-Titans game? Like this one, it's everything that we sort of believe in on both sides of it. This Browns defense statistically is actually better than the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Right now. And like they are more aggressive, they are more dominant. This is a terrible matchup for the Titans. No one has sniffed the red zone against the Browns. In 2 games, opponents have not had a play inside the red zone. Credit Anthony DeBundo, Action Network. Like, and this Titans O-line, I talked about it at the top of the show. I'm begging you people, go watch the Favorites film room with me and Simon, 10 minutes, YouTube only, where we break down different plays, and we broke down the Titans offensive line. Doesn't communicate. It's not very good. It's going to be hard to keep Ryan Tannehill upright against the Browns. But like, we had to bet the Titans at 4.5 and 4. And now I'm kind of just thinking I got to basically balance it out and bet the Browns because it's a pretty good spot for them.
And this is the big balls bet of the week.
No way. No way.
Yeah. Doesn't this take some balls here, Jed, taking this Browns team?
It takes massive balls. I actually thought we were going to go with the Colts against the Ravens.
That's fair, but no, this one takes some balls. Like, of all the bets, all the pros, everyone's saying it to me, it's making me feel sick. Every time I bet it at 3, I still felt sick. Now it's -3.5, and it's like I still gotta bet this. This is just a sick bet. Yeah, big balls bet of the week's got to be the Browns of all the ones we're making.
Bet of the week, Cleveland Browns.
This is definitely our toughest bet of the week.
I am sick to my stomach.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
No, it's not even a bet on Watson. It's a bet on this defense. So that's what I keep saying to myself. This is a bet on Jim Schwartz and this Browns defense. They're just so good. They're gonna have to talk with Watson. Don't be a fucking idiot, and we be 2-0. Like that's gonna be the mentality this week of get it to your running backs, do the quick reads, but no more trying to have Watson win us games like that. That's got to be off the table at this point.
All right. I'm with you. I'll sack up.
A lot of favorites this week. A lot of favorites.
Oh God, this is a terrible week. Quickly. Colts plus 7.5 against the Ravens. That's the one I bet this morning at 7.5. Definitely missed the number, but I still like the Colts at more than a touchdown.
We'll have to pass. I'm on the Ravens.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't get there with the Colts. I have too many questions about who's going to be their quarterback, and these are the kind of teams that Lamar beats the shit out of. Like these are the teams he likes them really beat up.
Saints +2 against Green Bay. We touched on it a little bit. You mentioned it in sharp calls. Has it changed your mind?
No, if we get there, I would love to take the Saints. I know a bunch of pros that are on both sides though, so it's definitely one of the more split games of the week. Like, you know, if it's 2.5 come Sunday, I just have a hard time us not getting in there. This is by far the best defense that Jordan Love is ever going to play this season, and the fear with us taking Derek Carr in this spot is, you know, he just if he gets any type of pressure, it throws him off. But what I've seen from Green Bay is their defense is underperforming through 2 games. Like even that Bears game, the Bears had tons of opportunities to beat them. It was just kind of Justin Fields not taking that. I think Derek Carr will. Like they got 3 really good receivers, and Olave still hasn't had that 150, 200-yard receiving game that he could break out with. So if Kareem, I guess I shouldn't say that. If Alvin Kamara was playing this game, I'd be all over the Saints team. This is the last game he's out for. He'll be back next week. So that's why I'm not going crazy on this Saints one, but I do love this spot here, especially if it gets to 2.5.
All right. I like it too if it gets to 2.5. I've listed it on our list, which like is causing us confusion when we talk on Sunday because we're going too fast. So I want to confirm this with you, but I also want us to be thoughtful and not worry about that we're talking with only 15 minutes to make the picks, because we'll look at the whole board on Sunday. Let's commit that to each other, please. Like Sunday, we'll both have up the lines. We'll go through every game. We'll make sure that as the lines have moved, we're not going to be so committed just to the ones I have in my notes, please.
I'll try my best.
Okay. Right now, we've talked about the Texans plus 9.5, the Pats minus 2.5. We've talked about Denver plus 6.5, Las Vegas minus 2.5, Bucks plus 4.5. And then on the outside looking in, we're talking about the Browns if they're still at 3, the Saints if they can get to 2.5. And we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as we're on the same page. Before we get to our money line, underdog, round robin, parlay, reminder that the week 3 contest tiebreaker is longest Bengals touchdown against the Rams. Our predictive analyst, Billy Ward, wrote another tiebreaker strategy article. We'll include the link in this episode's description. Simon, let's get to our money line, round robin, underdog, parlay. We know we're going to put the Bucks in there. Should we put the Saints in there?
Throw the Saints in there. Throw Houston Texans in there. Get a big one in there.
I like it. I like it.
Let's get a little crazy here.
Denver?
Let's go Broncos.
Yeah, we're on the same page again. We're back. We're mind melding. It's all happening again.
And then this last one, I know it pains you, but, again, we don't want to be too attached to our Sunday bets. Let's go Commanders. Let's take a little on the commies, starting 3-0, that ugly random team. There's always one that wins a couple games they shouldn't win. And we saw it. How was making those big time fuck it throws. And like I love seeing that last week out of them. And the Bills coming off such a huge win. This would be a nice little letdown spot for them. And this defensive line, there's few teams that give Josh Allen big trouble. And it's really talented, incredibly gifted athletes that play defensive line. And that's exactly what Washington has. Washington's front 4 is mean, and they're fast, and they're angry. And, I look at this matchup, I'm just like, these guys all week have been talking about Josh Allen and what they need to get done here. So, we might not get them in our contest, even though I do love it. We got to get in the money line round robin, get Washington in there.
One quick question from our live listeners right now. It's a Monday Night Football question. Do you put any faith in a West Coast team traveling east for the primetime angle?
No. It's I back in the day, I thought it would make sense, but nowadays these guys are all, flying in the best airplanes you could think of, eating the best food. They're all wired up on like the perfect sleep cycle with REM sleep and all this other crap. Like back in the day, that West Coast, East Coast doesn't matter, but I think a lot of the numbers have disproven that it just doesn't really matter anymore.
All right. We still got a lot to do. Make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL, part of your game day. Simon, is pizza the ultimate game day food?
It is, Chad.
I love it. Order online during our Pizza pregame. That's 1 hour before NFL games, and get ready for some football and fun. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Simon, if I invited you over for veggie pizza, you'd still eat that pizza?
Yeah, I would just pick off the toppings.
Oh, man. Either way, you win because it's pizza. Speaking of winning, everyone scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the tastiest hour before kickoff. As a reminder, for the second time. You can catch every episode of The Favorites live on YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page. Simon, we got to give people a survivor pick. Who's it going to be? Is it the Ravens? Like, you like the Ravens so much.
I do. This week was tough though, because we're trying to do game 3, and like there's certain teams we want to play to save for later, and
Yeah.
that's always the toughest thing about doing these different games. And there's so many big double-digit favorites this week.
Patriots.
That's a little risky.
That is major risky.
But that would be smart, because we're never going to use them anyway.
That's what I mean. We're never going to use them again.
Oh man, like part of me wanted to use the Jaguars, because when else would we use it again? But this feels like a game they could lose.
Yeah.
Even though it's a great bounce back spot for them. Damn it, Chad. Or do we just got to do it and just take the Chiefs? Like that's just as safe as it gets.
It's as safe as it gets. I just looked at it and I was wondering, but I don't have the schedule in front of me, so I don't know if that's going to be a team we want to take or save for later in the year.
Yeah, I can pull it up now. I remember looking through their schedule, and there's just not, because it's the AFC. There's just not any really layup games, right? Like that's all these teams. Like that's why, like even you said the Ravens. I kind of thought for a second, and it's like, you know what? That's not a bad play, but we probably can save them for a later point. But yeah, the Chiefs go Chicago, and then they go at the Jets. So we either could do them this week or take them at the Jets next week.
Well, I would take him at home before I would take him on the road against that defense.
Then this is it. Like for as easy as it gets schedule wise, we could take them all the way Monday, December 25th at home against Vegas, but that's so far away to plan on taking the Chiefs. I'd rather use them now, just get it done. Unless there's another team that you feel really strong about, these double-digit favorites.
No, that's fine. Let's get him to beat up on the Bears. As a reminder,
I'll put a second one out on Twitter this weekend. But yeah, Cowboys. Like Chad said, if you want to go with the Ravens, like you have to use one of these big favorites though. Like last week, we tried to go too cute with the Giants team. I'll go a little safer this week and take one of the big favorites.
As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. They believe that every sport should be epic, every touchdown, every game, every point, every play. From the moments that are legendary to the ones that fly under the radar, see for yourself when you sign up today with code ACTION, and you'll get $365 in bonus bets when you bet just $1. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, must be 21 or older. You also must be present in Colorado, Iowa, New Jersey, Ohio, or Virginia. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia, or 1 in Iowa. Terms and conditions apply. Time for a new final segment. We're adding to the Thursday show because we love Evan Abrams. We love all of his research and all the data and all the notes that he gives us. The last word with Evan Abrams. Evan, welcome, my friend.
What's going on, guys? One thing I do have to say, so I'll be a Tony Reale here, a little stat guy. So Simon said something Trevor Lawrence related. He's never finished as high as a favorite. 0-5 against the spread, I believe it is, as a home favorite. So never covered in this spot. So a little correction there, but bad spot for Jacksonville.
What are we doing right now? Am I teeing you up with topics, or are you just running through these?
You can tee me up. So like, I honestly want to talk about the Cardinals.
All right, let's talk about the Cardinals.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm actually obsessed with Arizona this year just because no one wants to bet on them. So just a few stats that I think are really fun. So in the wildcard era since 1990, no 2-0 against the spread team has ever been a double-digit home dog. So Arizona would be the first in this scenario. And they'd be just the fourth double-digit dog in general. The other three, 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread, failed to cover by 25 points in total. So not great.
Thank you for that, though. Like that just saved me a lot of money.
Yeah, but here's just like, honestly, the fun part about this. Right now, Arizona has just 11% of tickets. against Dallas. No team has closed with 11% or less since 2008. So right now it's just, even at 12.5 points at home, they can't get a single dollar on Arizona after going 2-0 against the spread. So just
and that, by the way, is also when you want to bet the underdog at home as a double-digit underdog. Like, of course you want to back the Cardinals, and yet I'm with Simon. I don't know if I can hold my nose and do that. All right, tell me a scenario with the Jets and New England. You say there's something similar.
Just something fun. This is just a great nugget. So the Patriots are field goal favorites now, about 2.5 over the Jets. That means over the last 20 years, the Jets have been favored versus the Patriots just once in their last 44 meetings. So one time, 44 meetings, the Jets have been favored over the Patriots. Good trivia question. So it happened in 2011. Mark Sanchez did it. So that was the last Jets quarterback to do that. But the stat, Patriots have defeated the Jets 14 straight times. That is the second longest active streak. Chiefs over Broncos 15 straight. So we get to bet those in the next few weeks as well.
Well, Simon, we're automatically screwed on the Pats now. So we made the wrong decision on the Cardinals. We're screwed on the Pats. Evan, can you go 3-0 in making Simon and I feel like shit for the bets
we're about to turn the tables a little bit. This is a Chad special. So we always talk about, and he's always talked about for years, betting bad teams. It's what we always love doing. So this is a bet the bad team system. These are the teams you don't want to bet. So off a double-digit loss early in the year and on the road, 57, 30, and 1 against the spread since 2017. So early success more recently. And then over the last 20 years, it's 59, 60%. That would be the Bears. That would be the Texans. So the two teams that look the worst, that no one wants, tend to cover. So we'll see.
By the way, Evan, last week you had a great system about teams that had lost by double digits. Again, no, this was from Brandon Anderson.
Yeah.
Teams that had lost by double digits that were then playing against teams that did not lose by double digits. So they could have lost by 9 or they could have won the game outright. When those teams were on the road, since 2012, they were 24-1 against the spread. Those teams are now 25-2 against the spread because the Seahawks covered last week and the Chicago Bears did not. So the Bears are there. They're system wreckers in every way. We started the show talking about the historic ineptitude of the Chicago Bears, and we will end it with their ability to break even the best betting systems. That's what this team can do. It can break fans. It can break systems. Evan Abrams, thank you for coming on the show. I'm looking forward to this segment every week.
Before we go, Chad, one thing to keep in mind this weekend, people, we have major storms coming up the East Coast. Like they're talking about like semi-tropical storms. So if you're thinking to yourself, what games might be affected by this right now, they're saying New England, the Jets game, Washington, Buffalo, Indianapolis, and Baltimore. So just before you start going crazy betting overs, those are the games you want to pause on before you put any money on it and know what the weather's going to be like. Because if it's tsunamis,
also, for those of you with, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it's tsunami weather, we joke all the time. Don't try to overthink and be like, well, it's gonna be wet and slippery out there. Like, take the over. We just take the unders. Like, if it's raining really hard and really windy, always go back to that Buffalo 49ers game from last year. It's a total shit show when you can't throw the ball downfield and you can't get any traction on the ground. So definitely something to keep your eye on this weekend, people. A big weather storm coming East Coast.
You know what I thought of when you said that? I wasn't thinking about betting ankles. I was thinking we had Hurricane Tsunami in Connecticut last weekend, and I forgot to put the covers on our brand new outdoor patio furniture. So I am going to race home from the city tonight, and I'm going to make sure tomorrow I put the covers on the furniture because I don't want to get that stuff wet. It's a whole new ball game. I'm not ruining another set of patio furniture. Let's recap. Our foxhole, New England Patriots -2.5. Our big balls bet of the week, Cleveland Browns -3.5 right now. I prefer to wait until it gets to 3, but I guess we're going with it. The exact decision was Denver +7. Also like it at 6.5. Simon says was Tampa Bay +5.5. It's down to 4.5. Our money line round robin parlay: Bucks, Saints, Texans, Broncos, Washington Commanders. Before we sign off, Simon and I will be back with our week 3 recap episode live on AMP and on the Action Network YouTube page this Sunday and every Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Also, a reminder, tiebreakers absolutely crucial in our contest if you want to cash. Last week, we had a 10-way tie because folks nailed the tiebreaker. Billy Ward, as we said, is writing an article to the tiebreaker topic every week. This week, it is longest Cincinnati touchdown. Make sure you pay attention to that. For Simon Hunter, I am Chad Millman. This has been the Favorites podcast presented by Bet365, part of the Action Network. Download us from Spotify, from Apple Podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. Leave us 5 stars. Say on feedback is a gift. Until Sunday. Love you.
Recording stopped.